Hello War of the Visions fans, I'm Jackie Fox, and in this game for the last 5 years, PvP has been the focus, and it's mainly been 3v3. Then with 5th anniversary, we got to pick any 3 units that we wanted, pretty much, out of the non-limited pool, and that gave basically everyone who wanted it their PvP dream team. Considering that new player rewards have been what they are and returning player rewards are basically 3 maxed vision cards, everybody should have roughly what they want for 3v3 formats right now. Which means that the new bleeding edge of PvP is going to be 5v5. So I'm going to build out my team here. I think that 5v5 formats, because everything about this game, from the rules, the balancing, character design, has been roughly balanced for 3v3 formats. There have been formats where 5 character teams have been available for a while, and I'm sure a lot of you have at least 8 elemental teams just for clearing missions, special rewards, and that kind of thing. So I'm sure a lot of players are pretty used to 5-man teams. But the thing is, the game isn't really balanced for PvE in most cases. Or at least not for PvE that's challenging in any other way than like a score rush, like your units probably aren't going to be in danger in some of the more highly competitive forms of PvE. So this is going to be pretty unique, and it's going to reprioritize a number of things. And one of them that I want to point out right here and right now is staple VCs and dark VCs. So staple VCs, you probably saw a number of them on my team as I was building that up. And those are some of the oldest VCs in the game. And in a lot of ways, they are functionally the least powerful. They're kind of like a baseline of power for vision cards in a lot of ways. But that doesn't mean that they're not some of the best when you're running a more mixed team. And this is something that I made a video about fairly recently, a couple months ago, as I started noticing that the newer characters are strong enough to be building all new character teams, and usually those all new character teams didn't have traditional synergies. And because of that, when you're running like Sadly, Exia, and Gilgamesh together, you need cards that work for everybody more so than you need the most powerful cards that only work for maybe 1 or 2 of those characters. And on a 5-person team, like if you have a good 3v3 PvP team, you can just copy paste that in here and then build out 2 more units, but you're often going to find that maybe you only had 6 optimized VCs for that team. Maybe you need 3 or 4 other things to fill in the gaps. And these type of VCs are going to be really important for that. I also think that as you build bigger teams here, getting the most power out of your teams, while I think that mono elemental teams are going to represent so much more of a challenge than they were before, because I really think that these are going to be some of the beefiest teams you're going to be able to run up to, because even though they're using older vision cards, there are elemental vision cards were kind of the rule of thumb of this game for long enough that there is a really, really dense pool of them. And I would say that most players who've been playing for a little while probably have built up several mono-elemental 5-person teams, complete with 10 very powerful vision cards. Are these going to be the strongest teams in a lot of ways? Maybe not, but they are certainly going to be the solid backbone of this format, I think, in a lot of times. I think that non-mono-elemental teams are going to be the highest power of these. But I also think that, the mono-elemental teams are going to be a very strong baseline for these types of formats. Another thing that you might notice, something that my team utilizes well here, is that there's a couple of different dynamics that are going to be stronger within this format. And we're going to see one of those dynamics when Sadly finally gets the turn, because somehow, usually, it looks like the way they set these maps up, this kind of thing shouldn't happen. But Sadly just AoE'd 4 people to death. Like 3.5 people to death. And he did that with his follow-up hit. Now, usually, I would say, well, follow-up hits are powerful, even in this format. You know, just anything that adds onto your damage and increases that pressure can be good. I think having a follow-up hit that affects the people around you, such as Gilgamesh, Yuna, Irvine, Bartz, all do, is probably going to be preferable. Also, this is going to be a little bit of a longer format, 5v5. There's more units that have to get KO'd before the match is over. Therefore, you know, sometimes Gilgamesh wouldn't get an opportunity to use his follow-up. He just wouldn't line up. But now he can. Another thing I want to point out as I'm showing you this particular TMR, which I think is really excellent in this format, check out the buff. Diamond AoE buffs are going to be so much more important for similar reasons of things I'm going to be talking about soon. And that is that the standard is cross-shape buffs, which are good for hitting 3-man teams if you can get in between 2 characters. And theoretically could hit an entire 5-man. But here's the thing. You're really going to prefer the AoE size even more in this format, because it's already true that lining that up can be a little bit challenging, whereas with Diamond AoE buffs, they're probably going to hit everybody regardless. So it's even more important when you have this broad of a field, especially like the starting positions are so far apart here, that these Diamond AoE buffs can be kind of the only ways to hit multiple people. Though, watching the way that this map tends to open up for the most part, you could see it as a 3v3 and a 2v2 happening next to each other in different lanes in a way, because it does feel like I've kind of grouped off into 2 parties for most of these fights. Again, the last fight, all of the opposite team grouping up together, was kind of an exception. But then again, this could be very map by map dependent. Also, that was a pretty good size. Now, technically a plus-shaped AoE would have worked just as well there, but that was actually a box-shaped AoE, which is somewhere in between the two. Lining that up with 3 of my other characters, though. Pretty nice. We're just going to rush in on the side of the team and demolish them. But, so AoE buffs are really good, but also the state of characters like Mont and to a degree Exia as well, both being very like single target heavy characters that can hit multiple people with their attacks. Now there is a bit of an aiming advantage in that someone with a single target skill like this who ran right up the middle might be able to hit like Cypher and Roth at the same time right now, and you definitely couldn't do that with an AoE skill. But when you consider that most of these like really cutting edge single target skills hit 2 characters, and in a 3v3 format, the max number of characters you can hit is 3. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And if they can really push the damage on those 2 characters, the fact that they're more likely to take out either of those 2 than you would even if you hit all 3 makes them more powerful in some ways. In any case, I think that it's something that kind of comes and goes with who the newest unit is and how they like to deal damage, which one is more powerful at the time. But in this format, because it's not what the game has been balanced for, I would say that more definitively AoE is super important here. It should also be noted, I wanted to test here, and we can test this out, but I'll go ahead and give you the spoiler that Commander Jaden has a higher bonus, 100% bonus as compared to Mont's 75% bonus, so I am going to get a bonus increase, but it's not going to stack. If you read up there, the clauses haven't changed, and the scoring hasn't changed even with commander units. He's just counted as a 6th character on my team, so technically this is a 6v6 format, but we don't usually count commanders. The bonus system will, though, so instead of getting 175% for the 2 of them, we're going to get 100% just for Jaden, and Mont isn't going to count. That does push my damage up, that does push my score up a bit for this match, but also this would have been a really good team to be running a Commander Jaden. The team I'm going up against as opposed to myself. My team really doesn't support Commander Jaden that well. I do have an ice unit, but none of the job stuff that it wants. Which, like, all 3 of these characters on the side fit his job buff and could get, like, the healing power up and the threshold heal off of it. Once again, we've lined up the CT up onto the whole team from Gilgamesh. Their ranged unit is up front. Looks like we're going to be able to hit both of them, though. Nice. I think this side of the field was significantly lower level. I think their FFX2 units were lower level. Let's see. Is there anything else? Actually, no. That's pretty much all the things that I wanted you to take into consideration. Once again, double elemental VCs, and staple VCs. All the older vision cards are going to have probably more use here. It can still be kind of finicky to run a 5-person 10 vision card job element team and still have maybe the cards that you want and still optimize those well without including other things to fill the gaps. So I think this pushes what job-based vision card teams can do a little bit too far. Oh, just cracked into the top 1,000 for the preliminaries. Because this is all mock battling, so I have like infinite refills if I want to go really hard today. But I'm just going to show you my first 7 matches. This team is really interesting too. This has some lower level units. In fact, there's only one 140 on here, but I think the high gunner focus, and it would be, I find it, like with this many gunners, maybe it is better to have Jaden as your commander. I don't know. This team ended up being a real challenge. Just pushing damage really well, pushing range really well. This team also has a pretty large built-in bunker on each side that prevents forward movement and creates a great place to snipe from, and we are going to see this team start to utilize that. I think pretty soon too. Yep. Right in her face. So once again, a lot of these older vision card strategies are going to work, including the mono element teams that are supported by people who have just really great like PvE teams in mono element that they're going to copy paste into here, since there are no real build constraints on this except have 5 characters. I think over time, and it's going to be interesting to see how they balance this for new units. If we start to see maybe more characters that can hit 3 units with individual targeting attacks or unit attacks, or maybe even we see, that would be a way to make unit attack characters more prevalent in this format, more impactful in this format. But also, as you can see, just Irvine here, Irvine and Laya using the bunker to their advantage, and until Sodley came and just wiped them. The 2 of them were doing quite a bit of damage to my team. In fact, they really made one side of my field look real bad. Usually the strong side of the field, even. Going into the 6th fight, I'm going to be seeing people pretty exclusively that have won their first 5 fights and want to keep going. And at this point, this is an exciting format. It's kind of scary in a way that new things can be. Okay, this looks like a fun mono elemental team. I have an ice unit and a water unit, so who knows. Let's go ahead and get the free restore and take these guys on. And as I do that, these last 2 fights are going to be a lot more challenging, and I'm going to let you sit with those. As I say, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. At some point, I'll fix my Linktree link. I don't know what's wrong with it. It just quit working. But that would connect my Patreon, Coffee accounts, places that you could donate to the channel, as well as book listings on Amazon for books by Jackie Fox. Not all of those are me, by the way, just the fantasy and fiction. I, believe it or not, did not write a book about surviving mastectomies. But apparently there is a Jackie Fox that did, and is also self-publishing on Amazon, so look out for that, I guess. Unless you need to know how to survive a mastectomy, in which case us foxes gotta look out for each other. You should check her book out, I guess. But all that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the new format. I definitely am. I'm going to be going for the new equipment, which I've heard about from the JP side. Maybe I'll include some information about that in this episode. So one of the interesting things about this fight in particular, one of the reasons I picked it, is that I played Earth into Fire with AP economy teams for a while because Oberon and Sephiroth both like their AP auto restore. And often this team didn't run necessarily counterplay, but they're also kind of leaning into their advantage in the AP economy and running Blade Stream. So both of us ended up running Blade Stream, and I would say of my team, especially with Mont as my commander, I have more resistance to that type of strategy, which means that I can kind of defang them without so much worrying about them being able to handicap me so well themselves. Especially with 3 out of 5 of my members being mages as well, where their only real mages were there for support, or Soul, who really didn't last long in this fight because he lined up with magic and he is a versus physical character for sure. Okay, here's an interesting and fun one. This one is going to get quite competitive, and I'm just going to let you watch it. So thank you so much. I hope you're cheering for me in this last one. Yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
来い、後悔しても遅いぜ。この場を切り抜けるためにさらなる魔力を見せよう。単に参りましょう。感謝いたします。助かりましたよ。真の魔力を見せてやる。感謝いたします。The ashes await you. 危なかった。この場を切り抜けるために。見事なものだ。頑張りましょう。はあ。力を授けよう。捉えられるかな。It's over。覚悟したらよ。ただる後悔してもただる覚悟をしておけ。ここで終わらせる。わかりましたよ。Hear me, crystals. Witness my power. 限界を超える。見事だ。感謝するぜ。本気で戦った。本気で戦った。本気で戦わないと。後悔しても遅いぜ。ここで終わらせる。はあ。手加減なしよ。私を助けてくださいね。危なかった。まだできません。行きますよ。本気で戦った。ここを切り抜けるためここで終わらせる。行きますよ。真の捉えられるかな。行きますよ。嘘なんですね。手加減なしよ。させませんよ。使命を果たすまで倒れるわけにはいかないの。